I'm excited about today, but man, I was expecting some of our teams to reach semifinals at least. I don't know what happened to us.
I mean, where are the Greek teams as well? Like, I was expecting, like, this year was the year, you know? Like, some Greek teams. We have so many great players that are Greek in the LEC. I was like, this is the year.
Yeah, hold on to that copium. That's nice.
What do you mean? You guys haven't won anything for like a year. Maybe you need to start speaking Spanish.
At least we won something. What did you guys achieve?
Pάλι τα ίδια, ναι, όχι.
Non mais elle est sérieuse, mais tu... Ça va là? Attends. L'audace! Regardez-la!
Me la pela. De verdad me la pela. I don't care. Girls, move your asses. We gotta start the show. My team is playing.
All right.
Tuve una caída en mi carrera, pero he vuelto más fuerte que nunca.
Pero ojo con Supa, va a reventar a Marlon. Se atreve ahora con el 1 contra Flakked. No debería de ganar el tetón.
J'ai progressé une étape à la fois jusqu'à arriver au sommet.
Il y a Venour qui est dans la mêlée. Et la côte de Roguette, elle est magnifique du côté de la TSC.
Ich weiß, ich kann der Beste sein. Jetzt muss ich es nur allen zeigen.
Für ihn wird sogar noch mehr ein Triple für ihn. Der Quadra-Kill für Kinui.
선택할 수 있는 길이 많았습니다. 저는 지금 걷고 있는 길이 옳다고 확신합니다.
No a wszyscy tutaj na gotowe. Nie odbierajmy. Pentakill jak najbardziej zasłużony.
Orada 0 bir değişim. Ayakta kalan son isim Erdemir.
Uzun zamandır bekliyordum. Şimdi benim zamanım.
Hello and welcome to the second EMEA Masters semifinals as the jib is rolling over a baguette. Never mind, today will be decided who faces off against the Bank Wildcats in the grand finals on Saturday. I'm Laure, here to meet today the terrific Trouble Inc. and the amazing Noah for the first time. How are you doing? Trouble, I don't care, I don't like you. No, amazing having you in the studio.
You want to start again? You want to go?
It's becoming a classic as fighting over it seems. But
Let this be, thank you very much, let this be a diplomatic approach between our regions.
Well, thank you for joining us and bringing this diplomatic approach. We have an amazing series on our hands today, but if you couldn't follow the show yesterday, quick reminder of what happened. Classic way for the TCL. International Wildcat dropping the first game and then steamrolling throughout the entire series afterwards.
I think this is going to be their benchmark from now on.
Yeah.
Get into a series or a stage in the groups, lose the first game, kind of test, you know, your toes in the water, see how cold or warm it is, and then instantly adapt. I feel like they played exactly to their play style. That mid-jungle duo took off 3 days straight. And honestly, it was a little bit surprising to actually see the other side didn't put much of a fight as we expected from the big names that were over in Escape.
Even though I think the first game was clearly amazing, by the way, by the side of SK Gaming Prime, honestly, and we could have had that 5th game, but SK will always remember to sweep better the base to avoid that, you know, that backdoor.
Yeah, and looking at this game, especially game 3, the way the Nexus ended and the way they lost this game, I think this was the breaking point of the series for them, Trouble, and hard to come back mentally after
Yeah,
a loss
it was
like
honestly quite heartbreaking. We chatted a little bit about it and we thought that they were going to go the Mad Lions route, where it's like, if your back's against the wall, pick your comfort picks and play your best.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the case. We promised some awkward picks, if you will, some pocket picks from Genax in the top lane to counter destroy, but when you're blue side, it becomes really difficult.
Yeah.
So I don't think we just saw like prime escape. Prime, no pun intended.
And on the other side, it was actually their top laners coming in with the wild picks, I want to say, with the Rise top lane.
That's true.
Also, a really good answer to Cannon when we've been looking to seeing more AP champions maybe on the top
definitely
lane.
we need something besides, you know, the cannon and also the rumble that were popping off recently. And the Rise is there, and it's quite a pick, honestly. It was pretty strong in the mid lane, not so far ago. And now in the top lane, it's also an option. I really loved that they kind of flex it. It's kind of flexed because
Yeah.
Ari was already big, but I love that they, drove the Ryze to the top lane.
Amazing performance by Destroy here. We'll see him again, of course, as the rest of the team on the finals on Saturday. Let's take a look at the bracket to see where we're left here with the Wildcats advancing to the finals. And today, ladies, Heretics versus Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition. An amazing series in our hands.
Oh, let's go.
I'm
Both
excited.
of these teams nailed by their series over in the quarterfinals. Both went to 5 games. If they would have pulled out the ace out their sleeve, they haven't yet because we didn't see anything crazy come out of both of them in their 10 games between them. So if it goes all down to the wire, 5 games, I would expect something spicy to come.
Noah, Heretics going for the back-to-back here in the hope of reaching finals and maybe another trophy in the EMEA.
I'm not saying anything because, I'm known for my dark arts, so I'm not jinxing them. I'm going to say that it's going to be a hard series. Last year was a hard series, I kind of remember, because I was already here and I suffered a lot in that 5th game. And Unicorns of Love is a team that must not be underestimated. And we tend to do that. And Unicorns of Love proved themselves to be that dark horse all over and over and over again. And we have to remember that they beat the team that swept out Heretics in the finals in Superliga.
There's some history here also between these two teams. But before we focus on the series, we saw a lot of champions in quarterfinals and yesterday in semifinals. Now we want to find out which of these champions in the knockout stage are bait or great. We'll start with Jinx, maybe the best performing hyperscaling AD carry in all the major regions here, and it's no different in the EMEA Masters Trouble.
You know what? Ka-ching! I'm going all in on
All
this
right.
one. I feel like Jinx is an absolutely great champion, really easy to get priority in lane with, which means that you have the first rotation on the map, really easy to rotate around the map as well. So there's a lot of damage and choke points, has a lot of control with the chompers over choke points as well, as you'll also see here. And usually you see Jinx also cancel backs, which means that you get the tempo of your team with your team, with the control of the ultimate from Jinx. And also, if it goes to late game, even if you're 10k goal behind, 1 quarter kill is what it takes to get her snowball in.
She gets excited, she gets rolling.
I think that's the key because that's some deep analysis, but I think that it's easier, way easier than that. You got push, range, you have team fight potential, you have that hyper scaling turbo late win condition, and let's be honest, we are under LEC level. Teams are not that efficient when it comes to snowball, and Jinx is going to be that key, is going to be your life-saving vest when it comes to that late game.
Yeah, easy to execute if you have the right champions to take care of Jinx also and protect her. Now back to the mid lane with one of the most praised, I think, mid laners we saw so far and highest in prio, Ahri, the nine-tailed fox. Trouble, what do you think?
I'm pretty sure with their pick rates, he has one of the highest win rates as well. And that's because the meta has shifted a lot. We saw Ahri go back in prior and now back in because Vi has come up, Wukong has come up, Lissandra has come up, Viego has come up. And these champions love to brawl and have a setup mid laner. Ahri can set up these mid lane fights with the taunt, or even if your jungler has the setup from the ones that I mentioned, you can very easily get a pick with the burst early game, which is what a lot of picks really rely on in this particular meta to snowball the early game onto a quick victory.
So we're on the hype train here. What about you?
I'm not that much into the Ahri hype train, honestly. I don't want Nightmare to beat me, but I kind of consider her quite of a bait. It's a nice pick, don't get me mistaken, but I don't think it's a free win. Playing Ahri, for me, it's like a tag team effort. You know, it's like the jungle mid synergy, and even if you have mid prio, even if you have like a nice setup for the mid lane, you still have to sail those team fights. And Ahri is squishy. If you have that CC point and click, it's not going to be that easy for Ahri to perform in the team fights. We all want to be Chobi, and that's really great, I assume. But honestly, Ahri is not. It's a champion that, in my opinion, is hard to make the most out of it.
All right, now last champions we have on the top lane, Cassante. And here, I don't know what you think because we saw this champion a lot in the major leagues, but there's so many counter picks that have been found to this champion that I don't know if it's still efficient the way it used to, Trouble.
This champion is just so weird, man. He's just such a niche top laner. Cassante in EMEA Masters has 22% win rate.
That is so
we saw
cool.
it used we started used to its utmost potential from Abby over in the LEC. That didn't even snowball from all the solo kills. It just feels like this champion is just so easy to execute when it comes to team fights. Now with a lot of CC from the teams, hyperscaling AD carries that are very safe into the backline, you don't have the correct positioning, you cannot stick on your target. It's just very difficult to play these front-to-back oriented teamfight comps that we see right now. And I feel like non-committal engage like on super heavy tank with really good engage like Sion is just easier to pick here and much easier to execute.
Definitely. I think the Cassandra era is over. I mean, he was nerfed to the bones
Yeah.
all over and over and over again. And understandable because it was absolutely broken at the beginning of the season. But honestly, now I feel like it's that champion that the players that do not like playing tanks is the tank wanna be champion. You go over that you can still have, you know, that kill pressure on the lane phase. But I kind of feel that you have better options in the bruiser side, but also better options in the tank side.
It tries to do too much, but
just be
doesn't
Kennen.
excel, or just be Kennen, or Pro Kennen. We'll see what the teams come up with today, but for now, earlier I caught up with Heretics head coach, so let's hear what he had to say. Hi, I'm back here from the past then with this interview with Heretics head coach. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the show ahead of your game. How are you doing? How is the team? How are the players? Tell me about the mood right now ahead of today's series.
Right now, the mood is actually quite good. Yesterday, we went to a basketball match. Sadly, Real Madrid did not win. Partizan was a bit too good, but we are really focused right now. Preparations are going really good, and mood is good. So I'm quite confident for today's match.
All right. Really good to hear. How did you reflect on last week's series? What were the good things you saw from your team, and what could be improved upon?
The improvements that we overall made as a team is at least the consistency in our so-called system. So at least how we do map openings, how we set our vision in terms of like the pressure and vision cycles. So this is what I want to keep up. This is what we've reviewed too. But now the only thing that we really have to improve on is like, well, that we at least a bit more considerate about vision placements and when we actually set vision and when our turns we can actually take very aggressive. And the second thing would be team fighting, because there are a couple team fights that in terms of micro we didn't play so well, and if we just did a bit better or we did our overall teamfight fundamentals better, then actually some teamfights would have won and the series would look a lot cleaner. So this is for today our focus.
All right, well, hopefully we can see this in practice in today's games. I was talking to Noah backstage, who was actually telling me about the story of the team in your regional league and the fact that playoffs didn't go so well for you. And we were interested in knowing what changed when you see the improvements of Team Heretics here at EMEA Masters compared to the run you guys had in playoffs, because it's day and night in terms of performance.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not quite sure what was the difference. I think we just really choked very, very hard on the finals itself. Maybe too much pressure, maybe too many things going on. The team dynamics are a bit different compared to last bit as well, right? Because we have a completely different bot lane. So both the social aspect and the communication roles like differ a bit. And also the pressure, right? Like if you're the favorites and the defender of the title, playing on a big stage and like minor distractions like the sound, the crowd, and such things, especially for Marlon, which is like quite inexperienced when it comes to live events with like very high pressure situations. So for him, this was a huge learning curve where I think right now he also improved a lot, and I'm actually very, very happy and proud of him that he managed to like really step up, got the MVP for the last series. So I think the fact that we choked really hard on the finals actually helps us improve right now and knowing what for now is important in this playoff run.
It makes sense. Grabbing the momentum and also I think playing for the back-to-back EMEA title must be boosting you guys in that sense. Quick words on your opponent today, the Unicorns. Where should we be looking at in the early game especially?
Oh, the early game. I think it's mostly about how both junglers are going to play around their team. So I would say like this is kind of like the focus and the map movement mostly around mid game. I think both teams can really take it away from there, and whoever is in the upper hand will actually have like a favorable match.
All right. Well, wishing you the best of luck into today's series. Again, thanks for taking the time of joining us today, and good luck on the Rift.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And back to me. Well, thank you, Laura. Well, you're welcome. Anyway, back to us. It's so awkward. But yeah, that was interesting insights on his hand, especially the way you wanted to mention their improvements
Definitely.
from the regional league to reaching semifinals today. How impressed have you been for the team?
I am quite impressed, honestly, because the performance in the Superliga finals was not expected. Not only it was a 3-0, it was fastest finals ever. We were like, what? This has been an hour and a half, 3 games in an hour and a half, and riders seem to be just so superior when it came to the games. And what surprised me a lot is that I felt like Heretics had no answer to what riders was proposing coming into the games. But back in the beginning of the EMEA Masters, I had that feeling back from Heretics, dominant team, consistent, having well-prepared drafts, well-prepared strategies when it came to the rivals. And I don't know, it feels amazing that they are, delivering in this competition.
I think what's most impressive is that the core trio that won Summer 2022 from Heretics is still here. They're still the core trio towards the top side of the map. Aibo, bluerzor, Zwyroo. And of course, yes, it's a big blow when you lose Jack Spectre, because she was a big puzzle piece on why you were winning these games last year. But Flakked has been performing out of his mind, He's an LEC caliber AD carry, and he's showing up and showing off.
I think he's been playing phenomenal. And Noah, I think we can say this about the whole bot lane on the side of Heretics. Clearly the players you want to have your eyes on in today's matchup.
Definitely, but it's not only Flakked, of course. I mean, we in Spain expected Flakked to be an amazing AD carry because he already was before he went to the LEC. You were so surprised, but we kind of expected it. And Flakked is such a versatile player when it comes to the bot lane. I've seen Flakked, I've casted Flakked all throughout my career, and I've seen him playing from Seraphine to Tamkins to Zion to Zeri to Draven. I mean, he does everything: mages, supports, AD carries, scaling and aggressive in early game. And Flakked is just this AD carry, and the stats are there to support me, that does the most with such a tiny amount of resources, to put it some way. But I want to highlight Marlon as well, because he stepped up a lot in this competition. Flakked himself was praising him throughout the social media. Marlon has improved that much that his team trusted him enough to give him counterpick in that 5th game versus one of the favorites.
Yeah, and I think of Pyke here, especially. It hurt us, but it was a good play for Heretics, and the use of this champion and how he made it work and found opportunities for his team was phenomenal.
The thing is, what Noah mentioned as well, his team, they picked Draven on the first 3, and his team and Flakked trusted him to pull out the Pyke and engage his inner Lissandra pretty much here in this particular game. In a game-breaking game series, Game 5, where everything is down the line, where the other Superliga team is already out the tournament, and you're literally the only remaining hope. And it was an absolutely mind-blowing performance from the bot lane and Marlon as well.
What about on the other side of the rift here? For the Unicorns, of course, it's a new roster compared to the one we saw last year. 2nd participation in EMEA Masters. Who's the key players of the team here?
Honestly, it feels like a lot in the jungle mid duo. I mean, if they have a good day, they're going to have a great series. If they have a bad game, feels like the whole team is going to fall with them. But I want to highlight as well Funky, that had an amazing series. He stepped up all throughout the series versus Movistar Riders versus Super. It was one of the most praised AD carries during last off season, and even there was a lot of conversation around Movistar Riders AD carry. And Funky even solo killed him.
Yeah, I feel really guilty because I was the one that requested that clip that just played on air. I love how Noah said, if mid jungle has a good day, it's great on the Rift. Thank you very much for this highlight. This is Funky actually on his infamous Xayah. I feel like when the mid jungle doesn't go well, this guy stepped up in his series.
Massively.
That was a 5-game banger where he picked up the Xayah and he made it work into a Jinx. This particular team fight, the 2nd Jinx starts snowballing 1 kill, gets 1 takedown, gets excited. This is it. You get out-trains and you get out-team fought. The way he placed his feathers, moved towards the right side of the map with the Gale Force to get the outmost cover on this team fight on the entire mid lane with his feathers was absolutely mind-blowing. He didn't do it once, he did it twice, he did it 3 times.
Yeah.
And what's even more mind-blowing, if I do this, wait, not this, right behind me, he's down in gold. He's almost 1,000 gold down at 15. And then he comes up with the Xayah, who's not necessarily supposed to scale as much as a Jinx, and turns around an entire team fight only down to positioning and the way he plays around that. Is just, I think Funky is the key to victory if everything else goes south. Again, no pun intended.
You get your puns
No,
on
it was
point
intended.
It wasn't
here
a problem.
today. It's a story of revenge here on the side of Unicorns, as this team met in quarterfinals last year in summer, and the Unicorns lost 3-2 to Heretics. We'll see if they can get the revenge going today and reach maybe the finals, or if Heretics can get onto their second finals and make the back-to-back happen. The semifinals in EMEA Masters start right now.
Move to work and I'm out of here. Murder the tune, it's a body here. Reviving the beat and it's right back to sleeping. I use a technique that ain't got me here.
Destroy. Şimdi o takım izleyecek. Ne geldi? Sıçrıyor. Flakked aldı. Flakked düşecek. Aldı valla. Devam. Oyna. İbo da düştü. İbo da düştü. Hepsi düştü. Bitti. Ne diyorsun? Ölüm cezası. Ne diyorsun? Parus düştü. Hadi.
Go time! Spark's ready!
Vorwärtsbewegung, 6-10 durch den Schockblast auf 120%. Kinui Flash nach vorne, Flash beantwortet. Kinui noch am Kiten, wird jetzt all-in über Seaboy, der geht raus. Jetzt kommt die Sonic Wave Reaktivierung und das sind 3 Kills für SK Gaming. Seaboy und 6-10 sind die letzten Überlebenden. Down NSK, die riechen das Halbfinale. Wieder ist es der Zinken von Biven, der das erschnüffeln kann. Biss ist down, der AD Carry fehlt für Biven. Bekommt den Kill, nächster Jump für Captain Kinui. Jetzt die Weltmeisterei, kriegt den Double Kill. Lekcyc hat Triple Kill für Super auf der Jinx. Und es wird böse. Featherstone kommt nochmal. Funky wie gegen Train Gelford nach vorne.
They're trying to jump on a super who hasn't got a place to go, and he's deleted. Look at Funky dropping down the feathers. He needs to stay alive though. We'll go into G8 and resurrect. I guess that's the question. Oh, the oh my God! That scat of the week was massive, and that should be the game.
Está bajando muy rápido, quieren cazar a Parus, se abalanza con todo, esto que va a ser bueno, la piedra mejor aún, cuidado con Destroy que tienen que gastar el destello, el Lazor para ellos, el Lazor para los turcos, doble Stun que mete ahora, ¡Ivo! Se muere ahora mismo Gofte, se lleva el Vendetón, definitiva de bluerzor, Flakked que pega, Flakked que pega, Flakked que pega, Flakked que pega, se lleva otro asesinato.
Hello and welcome to the EMEA Masters Semifinals, the second one. I'm Medic. This is Corndog, and at the end there, that's Jamada. We are here for Heretics versus the Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition. I just want to say quickly before we get started, how cool was it to have 3 women on the analyst desk, and we'll have them for the entire day as well. That's just, I'm really happy that we have such a diverse depth of talent here in Europe.
Agreed.
Yeah, cool.
It's amazing.
That's what I wanted you to do, I'll be honest. That was kind of your best option there, was to agree with me.
No, but I think to me, it's just like you mention it. I don't even think about it because we've just come to have so many talented individuals that when I see them, I'm just like, that's a normal day. They got the normal talent there. So yeah, I completely agree. Didn't really think about it that way.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it is.
But you know what we can do? We can talk about some League of Legends. It's Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition versus Heretics, the semi-final. Both these teams coming off 5-game thrillers in their quarterfinals. Jamada, what are your thoughts?
Oh man, I mean, I had first row tickets at this very desk to those games. Unicorns, I'll be honest, I said it yesterday. A little bit lucky to go through, but also I feel like they were the better team on the day. I will, however, say, quoting 1-for-1 exactly what I said, every hero needs a little bit of luck on their story to make it all the way through. However, now they find themselves against the Heretics, the defending champions of the EMEA Masters. And I think they're going to need to use a little bit less luck and find a little more consistency and generally just find themselves being a little more disciplined when it comes to taking some of the skirmishes. And also, I want to see more drafts like what we saw in the group stage against the LDLC lineup when they played them in the tiebreakers, because that was a game where they pretty much just froze out LDLC and they couldn't play the game. It feels like since then, the quality, or the consistency rather, hasn't necessarily been the same. So I want to know what exactly they're going to prioritize here into Heretics.
Yeah, I think there's so many cool matchups today as well. Just Flakked versus Funky as well. Funky already getting his Sire bend away. You kind of saw why in the replay just leading up to it now in his Sire too. But also on the top side, Venour versus Ibo. Venour has been very happy about being the carry of the team now on red side. Can drag all the way down to a last pick if you're looking to do something there. We have seen the likes of Aurelia as well come through for him as a counter pick into the cannon. And there's also a reason why Olaf is banned away. He is very happy for resources up in that top lane.
he will bully people if he gets the opportunity, Venour. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the R5 go all the way down to him. But with the bans laying the way they are, I think first priority things like the Sejuani up and available, the Wukong, of course, Jinx, Zeri, all of the mainstays that we've come to know on this patch. Depends on what Unicorns just don't really want Heretics and Flakked specifically to get their hands on. I would expect the Zeri ban here, and then they kind of move away. But they actually go towards the Annie, so I wonder if Heretics will just snap up the Zeri first pick, or of course the Jayce as well, up and available.
Jayce.
Jayce.
I've run true
one, yeah.
throughout the quarterfinals, but that is the Jayce immediately locked in for Heretics. Unicorns of Love can look towards the Wukong and even that Zeri that you were talking about, Jamada.
Yeah, both Zeri and Jinx available. I think last games as well, we saw Flakked just slam the Draven, so like there is some reason to be a bit scared if you go for an AD carry blind pick immediately, but a lot of that will still come down to some of the support counter picks. For now, it's going to be the Sejuani, so one of the big facilitators taking off the bot, leaving mostly Wukong left then.
Yeah, does mostly leave Wukong up for bluerzor. I don't feel like he's going to be too peeved about it, to be fair. He's pretty alright on the champion, all things considered. I like that they take away the Sejuani though. I think Jayce Sejuani is just such a strong and flexible duo, right?
Yeah.
If you're really cooking in the lab like G2 are, then sometimes you might throw it in the mid lane. But of course, sticking in the jungle and Jayce going in mid and top, very difficult to deal with. Parry up into Rakan, now you've got consistent snap engage and you've got a pretty strong foundation to build the rest of your comp around.
Yeah, but speaking of snap engage as well, I feel like you can just nap a Nautilus right here for Marlon as well, not being a bit scared of the fact that you might not have an AD carry, or rather support going into the next phase. Right now, Zeri, Jinx, Aphelios, Draven as well for Flakked. Still a lot of AD carries available, but Nautilus so happy to play into the Rakan, but also if they were to lock a Jinx or Zeri on 3, then you would have that available.
Yeah, and if you do leave your AD carry up for the second side of the pool, you can always respond to Unicorn's ban. So if they ban Zeri, you could ban Jinx, and then you fall down to the next tier. Obviously, Heretics thinking that Flakked and Zeri are a little bit more important for their rotation now, so they will get that. And already have a composition that works really well at prolonged team fights. You have a lot of poke from the Jayce, you have the Wukong who can disengage or engage, and then the Zeri is perfect when she has time to really start ramping up in a fight.
Yeah, it's very slippery generally, right? The composition right now from Heretics. Very hard to get on top of Jayce unless he goes into melee, and Wukong's very hard to lock down unless you have the point and click CC. A fair amount of CC to be fair on the Unicorn side. We'll round out this draft phase, however, with the Jinx, so just matching hyper carry to hyper carry.
And for now as well, for Matt specifically, we saw that in the earlier series, the Galio, you know, the likes of a supportive mid laner was really key for them. Lissandra still up and available, and with the composition that you have right now, still can gear towards that. But with the AD carries being picked and Rakan being your blind, taking away the Nautilus, it just makes sense. It's so annoying to get locked down by that champion when you play Rakan.
You know, I'm going to be honest, you mentioned the Galio Camille. It's something that Unicorns could very feasibly do right here with this composition, right? Galio's already got the setup from the Rakan to always just, you know, follow up on top of that. Galio Sejuani is something that Unicorns haven't shied away from, and Camille, if the Jayce does end up in the top side, has traditionally been a pretty strong answer to it. You can already see Heretics there respecting the fact that a melee top that dives in could be playing up towards that top side, so it shows to me that potentially Aibo should be piloting this Jayce.
Unicorns do have to look towards something blind here because the Jayce is flexible enough that it can always be moved towards the mid lane, so can just pick a safe top lane, or that's not really Venour's cup of tea. Mask, though, that Galio could be an easy enough pick for him in the mid lane where he can always influence the rest of the map, and melee with a Sejuani always teams up well.
Well, so far, Lulu, Nautilus taken away. Renata's still up and available, wouldn't be too bad. Gives a lot of flexibility for Rakan, though, to move around the map, but then you are playing for the more 2v2 side there as well. You've even seen Marlon be happy about other champions like the Thresh as well down there. Not the best pairing with Zeri, but still either way. Lots of options still available, despite the supports being banned away in the second ban phase. For Heretics now, going into the last ban. Will it be that Camille?
It has to be Camille, surely.
Nope.
Cassio instead.
Okay, Cassio's kind of interesting, because this says to me that maybe they're considering going even further into the, you know, kind of potential dive follow-up with the Wukong. We'll see, however. Of course, Mask is just generally quite good at this champion, so there is that. We'll see what the read is as Venour just goes towards the Kasante blind, and I think it still offers a lot of the same things that you could utilize out of a Camille, just obviously a little more flexible, more tank up front before he goes into the all-out.
Yeah, it can be flexed as well. Not sure if we've seen Unicorns of Love actually do it, but that is an opportunity for you there. We were speaking of the Lissandra as a supportive mid laner, albeit it would have been for Unicorns of Love, then could actually just be locked in, and it will. So you get that extra front line. Right now, I think with the Wukong, you don't have that extra dive factor. That's mostly what I'm looking at. If bluerzor is jumping in on it, he's mostly going to be alone unless the follow-up there will be there with Zwyroo going in as well at the same time. So will this be an engaged support, or will we actually see the HRTS style with a Renata to come through instead?
Yeah, I mean, if you go Renata, it's more for lane. If you go for engaged, it's more team fight. And I feel like given where Heretics are in the draft, it feels like teamfight is just kind of the way to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think even though Unicorns have a very, very strong front-to-back looking team comp right now, if you go towards lane, then you're really banking on winning the early game. You're really limiting yourself, I think, in the mid game. So I like that they go towards the Leona. We know what it does by now. Load setup. I will say there's a whole bunch of cleanse value now because you've got Lissandra and Leona on the same team composition. Well, we'll see whether or not Unicorns look to abuse that mid lane pick now.
I think it has to be something AP, right? Like, you could have flexed the Cassante, but then looking at the rest of your comp, are you going to play an AP top? Probably not. No. Instead, it's the Galio that Goldborg brought up in the second ban phase. Gives you that flexibility, gives you follow-up as well as the Sejuani goes into the fights.
You want to let me talk? All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, Goldborg.
Yeah, good job, mate, for letting him talk.
But what I will say with this Galio lock-in is that there isn't really a whole bunch of late game damage available to this unit.
No, that's the thing.
There is a lot.
Wait, I'm sorry. Do you see the AD carry?
I see the AD carry.
Okay, cool. I'm just checking.
But it's just Jinx, right? So if they do kill Jinx, they're going to just be effectively, you know, limited to a whole bunch of CC. I will say Cassante scales quite well, and he can be pretty big nuisance. And I think into the team composition that Heretics have, Cassante's damage should always pretty much be relevant.
Yeah, I'm mostly looking at the map movements as well, because where we've seen the most value out of the Galio, and specifically the Unicorns of Love earlier series and the semi-finals, or in the quarterfinals rather, was when they could cheat the tempo. When they didn't actually have the objective set up, but because they had Galio in the mid lane, they still were able to win these fights. What we're mostly looking at here from Heretics instead is the fact that they respect that fact, and they need to have the communications down for wherever Galio is moving, because it's not going to take long before he's appearing in a side lane.
Yeah, absolutely not. I think that, you know what, Goldborg, your point is so spot on, because Heretics, rather, Unicorns do not care at all. As long as they have Galio, they will make a play, even if they know they're technically at numbers disadvantage when it starts, as long as Mask is there to press his R key. That's the one thing I will criticize, however, in that tiebreaker they had against LDLC when Mask was on his Galio. I felt like he was a little bit hesitant sometimes. I feel like with this composition, even though you've got Jinx for the backup damage later on into the game, you still want to play a fairly high tempo game to just keep the side of Heretics down so they don't have too many proactive options to use.
Yeah, especially if they can get onto the Jinx later on. If they're strong enough that they think we can tank you a little bit so we can get onto that Jinx, it becomes very tricky for the Unicorns to play the game. It's been a long time since we've seen a team from the DACH region in the finals, all the way back in 2020 when Gamers Legion lost 0-3. Unicorns of Love haven't been there before. Heretics, of course, coming off the back of winning the EMEA Masters, now looking to defend their title next Saturday.
Yeah, all in all, really successful EMEA Masters this year, actually, from Prime League, I'll be honest, 2 semi-finalists. Of course, you would want so much more, but as you said as well, reigning champions right here.
He's out.
Yeah, he's fine.
Any sweepers in chat here? No sweepers picked up just yet, so that won't give over the experience as we sometimes see, and there's not response in terms of the level 1 for Heretics, so no tracking will be done off Peach on the Sejuani.
Yeah, could put bluerzor on his first clear off of actually taking the Raptors though, right? Just to stay off vision. Maybe he doesn't care and he just wants level 3 really fast. We'll see.
I mean, we've so many times seen the fact that junglers will then opt into, okay, I'm going to do red buff, I'm going to do Crocs, and then I'm going to take the left side around, so I'm not actually spotted at Raptors whatsoever. For now, they'll have to do a guessing game. No one's leeching. Or leashing, rather.
Not leeching either.
Any leeching Leas anywhere?
There's some old school doctors in chat like, yeah, some leeches will buff that right out. It's fine.
Well, you would know about that, wouldn't you?
Before medicine was advanced.
Medicine still isn't advanced, man. Like 90% of stuff is like, we kind of think this maybe works sometimes.
Don't say that. We have complete control. Okay, when I go to the doctor, I don't want to be more scared than I am, mate.
For the moment, though, not really too much happening on the map. You saw Peach starting at his red buff, goes Krugs down towards Razorbeaks next. He wasn't spotted on his first rotation, went leashless as well. So for the early game at least, Heretics don't really have a timer or a track timer on Peach, whereas bluerzor spotted as he goes over to his Razorbeaks, knows this ward's here, knows that he's on vision, but doesn't really think he can do much about it.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not like between these two junglers right now, you're looking for any early cheese ganks, right? While there is setup, you're not really killing the Galio in the early game, you're not really killing the Lissandra on the other side, so it's probably just going to be full clear from both laners into Scuttle take, and then much more probably won't happen.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same page there. I feel like maybe if Peach wants to try and attack the mid lane, right? I think Galio and Sejuani do have a whole bunch of CC, which is pretty obnoxious to get out of. If you get hit by 1, you're probably getting hit by like 3. So maybe they can look to try and abuse Venour if he gets a little bit too overeager in the trades, as he was trying to force pretty early lane priority on the mid side.
I really think in terms of like early attacks, if we're looking at it from any of the teams right now, I think the Rakan is probably the easiest one to lock down if you're Heretics right now. If you get that mid lane priority from Lissandra, which should be fairly easy, seeing as you're playing into the Galio, that's really on the pressure from the mid lane there to find that play elsewhere on the map. So get that pressure in mid lane and move it.
We'll see if they can do that. We also saw bluerzor stepping forward, getting a ward in this tri-bush. That's not because he was looking for a gank, but more because they don't know where Peach is. If Peach had started bot to top, he would be ganking that lane right now as Ebo is pushing forward. And because of that, bluerzor has to take a little bit of time away from his camps, is now 3 camps behind in total because he had to protect his top lane.
So for now, still has a ward. He's going to use that to get the vision. As soon as these Raptors will respawn, you'll then have the intel once again.
Very strong trade there.
Yeah, just holding my breath up there.
Yeah.
And so far, Blues are not really spotting on vision, but you should know through the process of elimination throughout all your wards on the bottom side that he should be on the top side of the map.
Right. Look for Zwyroo in the mid lane. There's the taunt. Peach can go in as well. bluerzor's going to try and come across, but will they get the permafrost down in time? They do! First blood over to Peach, and now bluerzor's trying to get the damage back down onto Mask, who flashes away. bluerzor flashes forward. Mask gets into the bush, and the slow from the flail. But a dash forward from bluerzor is enough to get a counter kill.
Yeah, you can see that. This is what I was talking about. You get hit by 1 CC, it just doesn't stop. And Zwyroo basically gets 100 to 0 practically, and bluerzor just barely manages to get across away from the permafrost where it stuns him up.
Okay. If I had my monitor right now, I would probably use something to cover something up right now. Any Lissandra flashes here that you guys are noticing?
Oh,
wait! You didn't see it in the play, but I saw that one, okay? And he thought he was getting out with a flash, but mouse placement was a bit unfortunate there.
Yeah, that's rough. And like I said, bluerzor manages to actually get the cast off on the dash and gets away from the stun, the permafrost, and does manage to at least secure himself the 1-for-1, so that feels good for him. Both junglers actually picking up the kills. The mid laners left with the scraps.
Yeah, but I feel like you're a bit happier as Wukong getting that extra gold in the early game, right? Having that acceleration towards the Divine Sundra really does wonders for this champion, because we quite frankly speak often of a Wukong that needs to come online with the level 6, with the Divine Sundra.
Look at how well bluerzor's been tracked, though, by the Unicorns. Like, ward on his Krugs, ward as well, and his Razorbeak's just timed out, so if he'd gone there first, he would have been spotted.
Yeah.
And yes, he has got the core fields, he has got a reset, but now Peach is going back for his reset, already level 5, and we'll be getting up towards that ultimate pretty quickly. You can see Lekcyc looking for something. Lekcyc. But he's not going to be able to find too much. Marlon spots as Mask will just be able to dash towards the bottom side. Frozen Tomb used, though. There's the Zenith Blade forward as well. The Rakan being locked up here, but a good taunt coming out, flash away. Means the Heretics will have to just deal with only getting the summoner out.
Yeah, just didn't quite have the 100-0 burst damage there. If bluerzor could have maybe closed the gap a little bit sooner, could have been alright, but Lekcyc gets out with his life, just expending the flash. Now going back in.
They know he has to go Frozen Tomb, they know he doesn't have flash. Loses his short glacial path, but the knock-up with the Grand Entrance is enough. Marlon's going to pay for his defense with his life as well. bluerzor chased underneath the tower, but manages to clone his way to safety.
Yeah, they're just sticking around for a bit too long. Mask not taking any damage in that instant. They've used so much of their tools of Heretics on Lekcyc to the point where as soon as the taunt's already there, the follow-up is going to be enough, and they find their kills. Heretics stick around for just too long.
Just biting off more than they can chew. I feel like once Alexis pick attempt doesn't necessarily go the way they want. And I will say, very, very smart from Zwyroo, knows that the E is going to kill one of those range creeps to get himself level 6, but you can see, between them, they don't have the damage. bluerzor can close the gap sooner. Great, fantastic, it's a pick. You can walk off to a side, maybe pick up the dragon, get vision on the top side, but sticking around here to get re-engaged on just feels so bad.
Yeah, the idea is they wanted to have the push in, right, so that you could just have the better reset, but Peach is finally coming around, and as soon as he does that, with still full HP, once again, both from Peach and Mask, it's just a bit too difficult.
Just a little bit greedy, trying to get that extra wave underneath the tower. In the bottom lane, both the AD carries just farming up as well. A little bit of a lead for the Jinx. Thankfully, she's nerfed on 13.8, you know, a whole 4 AD on level 18. It's definitely going to balance this chat. But yeah, her ability just to harass from range and wave clear is so powerful in the early game.
Most definitely is. And still, want to give praise. I know we've said it once, but look at the tracking once again. There's already good aggressive pink wards. Raptors also warded off here, so Peach feeling quite confident going in here. Does get spotted on a pink ward. Don't know if he actually spotted that himself. He didn't ping it, so don't think he's actually spotted it.
It doesn't really matter if he has, because bluerzor can't really fight him, and he's got mid-push as well, so Mask comes across. Maybe giving the gold to Mask.
Here's the thing, though. He never actually needs that mid-push as well, because it's Galio, and I really think this has been a good champion for Unicorn to love for that reason specifically.
Yeah, like, being on the red buff, he just knows. Mask, if he has to move, doesn't even have to move from the lane. He just presses R key, steals away the red buff. bluerzor will at the very least still get level 6 off of those Krugs because catch-up XP is fantastic. And the Dragon will be started off by Unicorns at the very least. And this should probably be secured. Pretty strong priority across the board.
And just quickly while we can, I just need to mention that top lane is also a thing, but they're completely dead even. Same gold, same minions. They just exist up there.
We had the before first back fight, and that's it. Okay, that's all you get.
Just wanted to give them their, spotlight while they still had the chance here. We'll see more of them in the late game, though.
I will say, much like the mid lane, however, for the Unicorns, there is so much CC up there that if Aibo gets clipped by anything, he probably dies. So for Unicorns, if they actually want to go and secure the Herald, it would be in their best interest.
All out is used counter flash from Aibo.
Needs to be a bit careful though, because his own jungler is still on the other side. Venour not really respecting that he's weak side right now.
He's just dead.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, So no action happens, and then one guy just walks at the other and dies. So that, top lane.
I guess Venour just expected more damage out of the Sheen, right?
Yeah.
With the passive procs, and just.
But even then, like, if he goes for that, going for that play, just you die to the jungler. You just got Drake on the bot side, enemy jungler is top side. I think it's misreading your turn to play the game.
It's also Venour's style to be a little bit aggressive in the top lane.
To be fair, that's very on brand. I'll give him that.
Definitely suits him. And Evo now with that kill is able to build up towards his Eclipse. So have another look at this, because I think it's all out from Venour to try and get Evo back, and then flash from Evo.
Yeah, so it's just the fact that Aibo is very quickly swapped over to the hammer form, and Venour just sees it as an opportunity to try and dash in. But the disengage is great. Like, he's just not respecting the amount of damage that can come out of Aibo.
I think it's the fact that he sees he's got no mana, but then because you're on the hammer form, your auto attack's just getting your mana back, and then all of a sudden he still has the abilities ready.
Didn't quite work for Unicorns in that top lane. Lekcyc is just going to clear out this control ward. Bot lane has been going well in their favor, though. 20 CS lead and 1,000 gold advantage for Funky on this Jinx. Already building up towards that first item. Has the boots complete, has the coal complete as well. And the recall will be started, and the zap will be blocked by Marlon.
Yeah, really, really solid hit for the Unicorns bottom side. And don't forget, Heretics had the opportunity to snap up the Jinx ahead of the Zeri, but for now, proving that that could have maybe been a little bit of a misstep going towards that Zeri instead, the Unicorns.
Yeah, just looking at the AD carries in isolation, look at that gold difference between them right now, right? 1k going over the Jinx, finally going back to shop now to be able to match them in lane. Got that extra pickaxe here between the two.
It's the best feeling as a support. Your AD carry recalls, you're like, wait, this plate's gonna go down. Oh, I just have to auto it once. I could 175 gold.
Out of the corner of my eye, I could just see Medic like doing a quick, quiet little happy dance.
It's such a good feeling there for Lekcyc. He's about 800 gold ahead of Marlon right now. Really 2,000 gold lead overall for Unicorns.
Yeah, and really playing the map differently here between the two teams. You can see they're looking to attack on the top side for Heretics. They've even brought Marlon up towards the top side. On the other side with Unicorns of Lob, counter jungling on the bottom side and can push for Flakked afterwards. You can see Mask is even moving down now. So two fronts of different attacks. Rift held on the top side though.
I think both just acknowledging what's probably going on the map right now. bluerzor also shows himself. And if Unicorns want to attack Flakked down here, they know they can. He's still underneath the tower. He is Zeri with Flash and Cleanse.
They're going bot lane.
They are, but...
Looking for him. Flakked pops the lightning crash, and Peach just dashes back away, gets the ultimate out. The Rift did get a charge in the top lane. That's 4 plates over to Heretics and 1,000 gold lead for Aibo. Mask looking for something in the mid lane, but not going to really do too much on this Galio.
But so far, this should just be a win for Heretics. While they are losing tower plates right now, what bluerzor is going to do, he's just going to run straight down to bot lane. So with the Rift Herald still 4 plates up there. Actually, they might actually trade it. You're right, it is a Jinx indeed, isn't it?
Yeah. And Zenithmate comes out, there's the TP as well. The charm has been used. Marlon gets the solar flare down, but Funky's able to dodge to the side of it. Galio now joining the fray with the hero's entrance. Marlon low. Ignite is ticking on him. The Frozen Tomb from Zwyroo. As they look for Mars, they look for Peach, but Peach flashes across the wall. The Galio tanky enough to survive. The Cyclone coming out from bluerzor, and a re-engage from Lekcyc. As they look for more, they get one. Zwyroo's going to fall. bluerzor doing what he can to stopwatch from Lekcyc, as well as Aibo has joined the fight with a TP down. There's one. Funky now caught unawares by the flanking Jayce. 2 kills to Heretics.
Funky was just on a mission to try and get as much damage out as he could, but he's just not late game yet. It felt so bad. He was autoing for so long, but again, this is kind of the issue with the Unicorns composition as well. They got chunked out very early on, and then all of a sudden it's just Funky with the damage, and that's it.
Did he just get a full Kraken on that base? He must have been sitting on so much gold.
He had so much gold before that play.
Well, let's have a look at it once again. It's just the fact that the Jayce TP benefits you as well. There's no way that you'd be able to join from the top side. He's even recalling on the minimap right now afterwards, but he's going to TP up towards the top side. In the fight itself, they're just forced to flash out. Even though the taunt is good on bluerzor, he still has the ultimate going, and because of that, the HP bar is still running down.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like it was just Funky being able to return the damage, and that was it. And for Heretics, eventually getting the additional numbers advantage from Ibo from the top side just wins them out.
Also, a super greedy flash from Funky in the middle of the fight. Flashing forward, looking for that last bit of
thought he was flashing the shock blast, and then it was straight into the laser.
But just flashing into the middle of 3 people when there's a wall right next to you that you can't
It's a bit rough.
It's like, you want the kills, I get you, but maybe a little bit greedy overall.
Maybe a bit.
13.5 minutes on the clock means the plate still stands. Funky takes the tower. Lekcyc goes in, but already Ibo takes his 3rd of the game, and now Lekcyc has to pop the chance to try and get away. Flakked and Venour trading up towards the top side, dashing forward, dashing back. It's just top laners killing AD carries.
I will not yield! Mr. Venour in the top side, making AD carries relive their worst nightmare, all out Cassante, and like you said, I mean, it's just the overstep on the bottom side. Now Marlon.
Solar Flare dodge, Peach is here. Not tanking the tower yet as Peach keeps them at bay. Permafrost down onto Ibo. Peach still trying to trade in, but that's half its health already gone. And this is more about playing for that Drake than anything else. Peach can come back in. Funky has the Super Mega Death Rocket. Mask has the ultimate as well. There's the Cyclone. Peach going to dash across the wall here. Lekcyc's getting chased off towards the top side, but look at where Funky is. Glacial Prison goes wide. You both hold your heads in your hands as Mask comes in with the Taunt, lands on 2. Super Mega Death Rocket coming in as well. Marlon is low. Funky just needs to get excited. Just needs 1 more auto, maybe 2. 1 crit isn't enough, not quite, but the zap finds his mark, and now Funky is here to party. Looking for bluerzor down towards the bottom side. Peach trying to get away, and he will survive. Zwyroo getting chased down towards the bot lane, but he manages just to dash out of danger.
It's a bit messy. We can all see that right here. It's not the most calculated play, but Funky very happy with the exchange afterwards. And at first, looks good, Heretics. They're setting up for the Drake because they got the kills first. They get the Drake and they see the Rakan. But then this is where everything starts flying out wide. bluerzor is looking for Peach, should probably be looking for Lekcyc. The ultimate there, looking for Ibo, not finding anything. And then Mask finally coming around, but not having the follow-up damage to continue. Good flash from Ibo.
Yeah, and I also feel like this gate here giving Marlon the extra movement speed for like half a second longer actually helped, but it stops Funky from getting the resets just a second sooner as well. Maybe comes down there, and hey, it could actually have saved Lekcyc's life. But in this case, kill goes over to Peach, and Zwyroo just barely,
so close,
walks away with his life as well.
Still, at the end of all of that, we're almost 16 minutes into this game, and it's a 3,000 gold lead for the Unicorns. They're dragging a piece. The Infernal Drake did go over to Heretics, and it's a Chemtech Soul in this game, so dragon stacking wouldn't have been too impactful for you anyway.
No, but let's look at the rotations here as well, because they're gearing up for another fight around the Rift Hill. You can see that Ibo is currently going for a recall. The best thing he could do is actually move himself up towards the top side, not care about the bottom side. And I think Unicorns of Love, they're going to put themselves in a little worse position if they keep Venour down on the bottom side, because that'll turn it into a 5 versus 4. For now, Vision Control is in Unicorns of Love's favor, but they're going to clean it out. Oh, calm down, calm down, calm down.
Calm down, it's alright. Yeah, I think that teleport just being down for another 60 seconds or so should just give Heretics the window they need to just take down this Herald at no contest, and it seems like, given the resets as well from Unicorns, they just acknowledge that this is not an objective that they can contest.
I mean, you also probably don't want to fight into an Eclipse Manamune Jayce at this position in the game. Like, this guy is already stacking up 2 items on the Jayce. He's probably absolutely smashing in terms of damage as well. Yeah, most damage in the game. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Marlon is low. Super Death coming out. Funky trying to get away. The quickness coming in, but already bluerzor is killed off the enemy AD carry. And we said it in draft, if Unicorns lose that Jinx, they lose most of their ability to fight.
Oh, just getting a bit too overconfident there, Flakked, or Funky rather. So lethal, but stopwatch is good enough to keep Marlon alive, and as soon as bluerzor joins the fight, Lekcyc's just not there in time to save his AD, is he?
No, Wukong's just so powerful, the Divine's under a spike, and Funky feels the full brunt of it. Hopefully, for Unicorn's sake and for his sake, he can step back a little bit more. Respect the fact that sometimes his tools can come out super early, things like the stopwatch, but we'll see what Unicorns can maybe return back on the map. Ibo, I don't think he's going to necessarily be caught out. It just speeds away with the gate and the R press for the movement speed. But Unicorns still have all the tools, right? All the snap engage. They just need to actually look on the map together as a unit.
That's the thing, because right now they have the item advantage on Funky as well. You can see already got that rapid fire cannon. gets the deal with a bit of the spacing. Specifically, you're scared a bit walking into Lissandra, don't want to get too close, having that rapid fire cannon might be a bit nice.
Yeah, Peach also going for Warmogs first on this Sejuani because he knows that if he can stand in the face of these Jayce shock blasts, then he can just walk away, heal up, and it makes it a lot easier for them to actually fight through subsequent battles. A minute on the Chem Drake means that we'll probably start seeing these teams start to set up vision down towards that bottom side. At the moment, Mask's duty is just to deal with Aibo. It's like, okay, we'll let him get all the waves, just make sure he doesn't take the tower.
Yeah, as long as he's not at our base at 20 minutes into the game, we're quite all right with that. And again, I think this next fight is going to dictate a lot of what happens for the rest of the game, depending on whether or not both of these teams want to contest for it. Because I think Unicorns, now with 2 items on Funky and the fact that a lot of these champions kind of spike at around this period in the game, this is when a lot of them are kind of at their strongest, whether it be burst or just general item breakpoints. They want to try and snowball further ahead so that the next skirmish afterwards as well, it means that they can take control of the vision in an area and make it as one-sided as possible.
Yeah, looking at it right now, both supports still have 3 wards in their inventory. Venour is getting that extra priority down from bot side, giving him an extra position to come into a fight now. He's probably going to navigate himself up towards his team, see if he can get some sort of aggression vision. They want to track bluerzor. They find him now. Need to be careful once again of those shock blasts.
You see Peach trying to beat that front line. Venour coming across as well. 12 seconds on the Chem Drake. Marlon takes a flail, takes a Gleaming Quill as well, but still pretty healthy. Rift-Held used by bluerzor as they now have control over the mid lane.
Yeah, so Unicorns have to make a decision here. They have to defend or engage. There you go.
It's the exact decision they want to make. A Solar Flare coming out. Marlon looking for Lekcyc as well, but Lekcyc can still get onto the backline, still has that quickness. All that was burnt there was the Glacial Prison to make sure they could get through to the Rift-Held. Cyclone used by bluerzor, Solar Flare down, Lightning Crash down, and Unicorn's very happy just to wait it out and make sure that Heretics have to stay around for the Drake fight.
Yeah, they're going to get access to the Drake area now. They don't have that Cyclone on Wukong, as she said, either, so it's an ultimate for ultimate between the 2 junglers. Now this is where we want to see the shock blast connect, because if you can get one good on all the squishies here, you can really turn the tides.
Yeah, Heretics have to blow up Funky ASAP. The thing is, Unicorns still have all of their turn ultimates with the exception of the Sejuani available.
Bluerzor flashes away. They're looking for the fight though. Peach is going in. The quickness can be popped by Lekcyc as well. He's looking for that backline. Gets onto them. There's the hero's entrance as well. Everyone funneled into a single spot, but Aibo has the flank position of Funky, and Aibo will kill off the Jinx. No one from Heretics has fallen as of yet. He gets one. Flakked going to go down. Peach fighting up towards the top side. He's going to have to run away, but Lekcyc and Mars trying to do what they can. bluerzor on Lekcyc is another for Heretics, and they continue to chase forward. Mask has the flash, and Heretics win the fight.
Mask, man! Mask went in with the ultimate and E'd backwards. He didn't go forwards. He could have chained the CC together.
That could have been the biggest fight for them, but oh no! So unfortunate. Drake steal really good from bluerzor. Follow-up fight should have been good for Unicorns of Love. You'll get it now afterwards. So.
Because they have all the snap engage tools.
They do. So, good steal in the beginning. bluerzor just coming over. No sweeper res active, so they don't actually know anyone's here. You got no chance actually smite stealing. Oh, yeah, actually securing this. But look at the team fight coming in here.
It's so good, right? Let's 3-man knock up.
Look at
potentially.
Aibo. Like, even if you get the engage,
I don't care. But look at Mask. You can kill Marlon and Flakked. But if you kill Marlon and Flakked, you can turn back around and stop Aibo, right? So Mask there kind of just cost this team fight. It's so rough. Aibo getting free access to Funky effectively just signs off the death warrant for Unicorns for the rest of the team fight.
So damn close. Huge credit to Aibo though, of course, in the backline, but my word, that was that's a play you're going to be kicking yourself over.
Absolutely is.
And play Unicorns will be regretting as well. Gold lead now down to 1,800. 2 dragons for Heretics as well. 2 items on Flakked. Almost 3 on Aibo. This Jayce is really going to hurt over the next few minutes.
Sounds like he doesn't already. He's so used to it.
Do you want me to bring the damage
back up again, Medic?
Oh, it's just 19,000 damage.
It's alright.
He's almost at 1,000 damage a minute.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Obviously, does have a Sejuani, a Cassante, and a Galio to, you know, put free damage into. It still helps.
Is it free damage if you are actually one-shotting the people in front of you? I don't know. I'm just saying.
Free for you. It's quite costly for them.
All right, so less objectives to fight for here. I think the biggest problem for both teams currently is the fact that both mid lane turrets still stand tall. Not too many turrets has actually been traded. They only did that one, where one of them got the top side and then the bottom side afterwards. So it makes it really difficult for them to commit to these super aggressive plays into the enemy jungle.
Yeah, Unicorns, I think they're going to struggle just a bit to like secure really consistent control just because they haven't got that tier 1 in the mid tower, or tier 1 in the mid lane rather. It being so low potentially means that they can step up eventually very slowly with Funky and just chip it down with the rapid fire cannon rockets, but it will take some time. Lexus will dash away here, but no real threat. But you can still see what the idea is from Unicorns. Whilst the Chem Dragon isn't up for another 2 minutes, just kind of feign the fact that you can take control of this area towards the Baron and slowly secure it. This push actually, given where Heretics are, I think just because it's not a cannon minion wave.
You also don't have vision on Zwyroo from the bot side, right? Like he can come up and then get a good flank with the Frozen Tomb. Can be a little bit tricky. Venour here, not in the best of positions. Ooh, okay. Ring of Frost was just short there. Venour was able to dodge to the side of it, didn't have to burn his ghost. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Funky takes a third of his health.
Yeah, approximately. Not too shabby.
They catch Ibo, they look for the engage, but the knockup's going to be great here. Marlon going in as well. The Cyclone blocked them from getting onto the Jayce. Hero's Entrance coming out. Funky trying to put the damage down, but he really can't get onto the backline yet. Zwyroo down to half HP. Flakked still full though. And in the end, all's for naught on either side.
Oh, and you can tell it once again, they just want these mid lane turrets. The game is so awkward for them to play right now. Shock Blast was not to be around on this second exchange of that fight. Could have potentially looked for any of the lethals, does not fight them, and you know, 0 people dying in that exchange.
Yeah, I think bluerzor's Cyclone interrupted the quick. Yeah, stopped the quickness, and because of that, the amount of chain CC that could follow up just simply wasn't present for Unicorn. So really solid disengage there from Heretics, and it just means it buys themselves a little more time to get Flakked to a point where he's going to be able to find a Zeri moment. As there's sort of a pseudo one there, dash over the wall, very fun. But Ibo realistically getting to that 3rd item mark is what's going to be very scary because he's been the one that's been putting out the damage.
I felt the passion in that. I felt the passion in that.
Yeah.
Once again, we're in the middle lane, everyone.
They're just ARAMing, man. They're just ARAMing.
As you say, it's because the towers are up, right? Yeah. You can fight for the Chemtech Drake, you can fight for mid prio. That's exactly what both these teams are doing right now. Side lanes do not really exist. Mask on his way, but doesn't have the hero's entrance. Still half the cooldown left on that Galio ult.
ARAM champions, though, I feel like you're quite happy with Heretics right now. You got that Jayce. I don't play too much ARAM. What about the other side?
I mean,
Funky's half HP.
Okay, well, he does have red buff, so he can heal up. He's also got a fair amount of life still, likely from Bloodline. Just heal up just a touch, but shouldn't be too much a problem.
bluerzor goes in. Mask used the taunt. Peach has been spotted now. Venour looking for Ibo down towards this bottom side. Venour forced away. That's your tank, by the way. There's the Solar Flare. Pathfinder out by Venour, but they look for the engage onto bluerzor, and they're going to take him down, shut him out of the fight. Now the re-engage happens. Glacial Tomb, Glacial Prism, in fact, going down onto Zwyroo. He has the Tomb still. Super Mega Death, we'll get a possibility. Goes right through the uprights. TP back in by Venour, and now a man advantage for the Unicorns.
Still going. Scores a bit of a field goal there. They're still going to look for it a little bit. Mask had the flash. He wants it, surely.
They're looking for the tower. He eats into the wall. He eats into the tower wall, but it doesn't matter because the tower's already down. Funky, low, Marlon flashes and hits him with the shield of Daybreak. Frozen 2 coming in from Zwyroo as well. Pops the stopwatch to try and survive in the middle of the fight. Flakked opening up with a lightning crash. But still, Marlon goes back in, and in the end, Marlon will fall. A little bit ridiculous. Flash double taunt though, and Flakked with a Zeri moment to dash across the wall. Flakked, the last man standing, bluerzor back up from the dead.
He was holding the flash for that taunt, not the flash taunt. That's what it was. And they should be able to secure the dragon, I guess, if they went bottom with bluerzor coming back up. Don't want to take the risk. It looks like a reset. Look at the E on the bottom side of the screen here. It's a bit awkward, but the engage.
He probably thought he had the flash beforehand. Didn't happen in time. Fight ensues, and they do get Marlon on the back line with Funky. Could have been better. A good set of stopwatches, I want to say, both from Zwyroo in the beginning as well, but also later from Mass to keep himself alive under that turret.
You can continually see, though, if Funky dies early on in the fight, how quickly the damage profile of the Unicorns dips off, and it just becomes about a CC battle and finding the key targets. Now for Heretics, can bluerzor repeat the magic he did about 5 minutes ago?
Let's see. As a super Omega blast code goes in, taunted, locked up immediately. He can still get the smite up, he can't quite. The dragon secured for the Unicorns. Baron, a possibility as well. As you say, Peach does have smite.
So does Zwyroo. from the spellbook, Smile. So
Master
still
as well, recalling as well. He just finished off 3 items, still has that teleport if he wants to join. Finished up the Rapid and Steph Cap right there. I think for now, though, Unicorns of Love, they just want to gain intel of the enemy jungle. Blues are still down for 20 seconds.
They're going to flip it.
They're going to flip
they
it.
see the walk.
You can't give it the
control. Hero's entrance. There's a flip awaiting. Zwyroo still has that smite from the unsealed spellbook. Ibo still has all of that damage and Funky feels the brunt of it. The charm coming in the hero's entrance, they're just going to turn onto Ibo. They call him out, they find him, they pick him off. Now Flakked has the flash with the lightning crash across the wall to make sure that he gets to safety. bluerzor is back up and Zwyroo still has the smite.
Should be able to take it before then. They just have to keep their eyes on where Zwyroo is right now. If he gets to the front of the pit, he can still Ian always. Have they tracked that? He's got the smite.
Flakked no ult though, so nowhere near as powerful on that Zeri as he usually would be. Marlon goes in, pops the Eclipse. Zwyroo trying to get into the pit as well. The smite already down and Zwyroo falls alongside it. Marlon chased down towards this bottom side as Funky takes him out. And in the end, Unicorns get everything they're looking for.
And that's probably the cleanest fight we've seen for Unicorns of Love as well. The synergy between the Rakan and the Galio to set up the ultimate in the beginning, while the rest of the members still around on the Baron. And while Ibo's damage is good, it won't be for long when he gets obliterated like this.
Yeah, Ibo, you know, you understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to get poke into the Baron, but he just has to play at range, firmer range than that. Otherwise, the engage will always come through from Lekcyc like that, and you can never really walk out. Zwyroo tries to get in the pit. Look at Venour, though. Does a really good job of using the path makers, just push him back further away from the Baron to ensure that Smite can never come through. The CC is good, and they lock him down.
Yeah, and it's so problematic for Flakked still to do damage. He gets a really good opening out on the front line, but as I said, the damage just not there yet. You can see he's looking for that lot doms, but still not finished.
Still a whiles away. They're at very least a couple hundred gold. But for now, Unicorns, they'll utilize this Baron, take away all the structures that they've been waiting to take for a little while, it feels like. And do what they can to just strip away as much gold as possible.
And it does become easier to play now. Now the mid lane gets taken, and now you're moving down to the bottom side. Now you can get that free vision in the enemy jungle, and now you can start sieging up on the tier 2s.
Yeah. And now you know Ibo's not anywhere near this one. Makes it a smidge easier for you, knowing that the 3-item Jayce can't just pummel your AD carry from range. This will be an inhibitor tower falling for the Unicorns. In here as well will go. Ibo's looking to try and trade it for the objective bounties.
If Ibo stays top, I think Unicorns are just going to commit for the end, by the way. I don't think they care, and they should be able to dive in time. I will say, Ibo's actually taking these towers fairly quickly, so they have to be a little bit respectful of how far he can go. Unicorns being pushed into a bit of position here.
Ibo has TP. First tower down to half. Mask dashing
Surely
back,
they just
dashing
go.
forward.
I mean,
there's one Nexus tower. Ibo's just looking for a total trade here. He's looking for the Nexus tower. There's the TP. Okay, in the end, he decides that perhaps Nexus is not what he wants. The Cyclone coming out. Mask able to dash away here. No ultimate on bluerzor though. You can see Funky still full HP. The flash from bluerzor and immediately he's stunned. Solar Flare coming out, but look at the CC. It's devastation, it's demolition for the Unicorns. And the minions come to join the party. They'll push in. Unicorns 1-0 up.
Unicorns looked Heretics dead in the eye. And it was Heretics that blinked first. They brought Ibo back to the base. Well, they couldn't make the defense stick. And Unicorns take it. And they'll bring themselves one up in the series. And I mean, honestly, all they had to do was consistently pull the trigger. And once they started to find that rhythm of the engages, it felt like it was a little bit too hard for Heretics to ever really deal with that much dive.
That game was 30 minutes. I swear it felt like 20 with all the fighting, and specifically towards the end game as well, when we were just around the mid lane. Reminded me a lot of the VCS. I've been watching that a fair bit of amount every time at the 15-minute mark. We just group mid, we go for the objectives. Hard to point fingers because I feel like there was some execution flaws on both teams.
I'm going to point one at Mask and just be like, hey, mate. Just a couple of hands mistakes.
But that's the thing as well, right? We're going into the first game. It's a best of 5. We still have this. And you won as well, right? Yep. So, you know, you can be happy knowing that I can make these mistakes. My team still's got my back. I'm going to come in stronger in the second game. But I also think for Heretics in general, they need to find plays elsewhere, specifically with this Wukong and Lissandra. When they got the first kill on the Wukong, you got the Divine Sundra. We saw what they were capable of, but couldn't really replicate it elsewhere because it became this ARAM in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think not only that, just very briefly, I think it's really difficult realistically to ever like walk over a Galio like that. You have to send so many members, and even if you do, then you're committing resources into setting back a Galio. Yep. You can't make side lane plays because Galio also exists. So I think realistically, after seeing this game 1, if I'm the Heretic side of coaching stuff, I'm just saying, you know, maybe this is just a removal straight away. Just get rid of it, just so they don't have access to it.
Negated too much of what they wanted to do. We're going to hand it over to the analyst desk, guys. Take it away.
Thank you, Medic. Back to this side of the studio as the Unicorns take the first game in what I would call a messy game one. To stay
Definitely.
polite, let's talk about the draft first, maybe to see what were the win conditions on both sides, because we highlighted some picks, Jinx, K'Sante, for instance. K'Sante especially as being one of the bait picks maybe we don't want to see today. But when I look at Unicorns of Love composition, Noah, I'm like, there's a lot of responsibilities on the AD carry being the only or main source of damage here for the composition.
Definitely, you had the Jinx being the hyper late scaling win condition that Unicorns of Love wanted to have, and Heretics then identify that, and they will all ham onto the Jinx. But the fact is that they lack, in my opinion, the resources to effectively reach the Jinx when it came to the 5v5 front-to-back situation. And from the side of Unicorns of Love, they had everything. You had the Galio, who could have split the team fight to give space to that Jinx. You had the Rakan, who provide more appeal for that very same Jinx. And on the side of Heretics, I felt like they kind of went out of the ideas. They tried once, again and again, to go with the Wukong. And when Aibo, so fed, wasn't enough, they tried to put him on the sideline. But sideline is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
I feel like this had a lot of redemption arcs, especially for Aibo as well. He had a pretty bad series in his quarterfinals appearance. And right here, I'm seeing the Jayce, first pick, and I'm like, okay, great flex, but mainly I just want to see this pick around that mid lane, especially when you have that Sejuani open as well. Of course, it's taken away, so it doesn't pair up that nicely, but there are so many other picks that you can bunch together with the Jayce to have so much impact in the mid lane, and especially when both of these teams want to play that mid-jungle support trio in the mid lane to unlock the map towards the bot side, it just didn't quite work because Unicorns of Love shut down that mid jungle, which couldn't roam bot lane to shut down the Jinx.
And that's what I was saying. I mean, it's execution mostly here, and we threw some shade at Peach in the pre-show. Talking about the redemption story on the side of Aibo, I think it's the same story for Peach here, who was making things working in the early game, Noah, and as Trouble said, getting things sorted in the mid-jungle duo.
Absolutely. They grab hounds, both mid and jungle, from the side of Unicorns, and they work together, paying attention to that mid lane, denying all the time the Heretics ideas. And we're watching this right in here. In my opinion, Peach had great game, but also Mask. The taunts were massive. Look at that. They denied perfectly Zwyroo, Lissandra. Heretics is not inventing the wheel with this composition. We got to see so many times Zwyroo playing this very same champ, and Unicorns of Love were ready to answer that.
I feel like what was very impressive was also when they played with the support towards mid lane. This is like a 2v3 right here, where Lekcyc and Mask managed to get away whilst they know that their opponent mid-jungle does not have flashes. What does Peach do? He comes straight from base and he's like, okay, these guys are trying to crush the wave without flashes, with very little mana in their pools, and they get this first kill in the mid lane. Now, what's very important is like, yeah, okay, it's Galio, Rakan, and Sejuani. They don't have much damage, but this is just level 6. Just the base damage from the abilities of these champions are enough when the health bars are that low, and just because that mid-jungle duo was shut down, the execution here is like, the plan here for Heretics is very simple. One Jinx, one source of damage, shut the Jinx down. But if you break that mid-jungle duo straight off the roots, they cannot run ball.
I mean, we saw it on the side of Heretics. As you said, the second they managed to take the Jinx out of the team fight, you just end up having CC fight on both sides and Unicorns not having so much option. And this is exactly what happened during this fight, for instance. Jinx goes out, and what can they do?
This was the closest that they got to showcasing why you should shut down the Jinx in the very early. Right here, Unicorns of Love run out of damage. You only have Key. Key doesn't have enough mana to use his rockets, so he gets that one shut down. But look at that. Aibo gets to TP back into this fight. It's a 4 versus 5. The rest of his teammates have bailed because they don't have mana or HP bars remaining anymore. And that was the pixel perfect fight for Heretics. But then from there on out, front to back, when you have 4 tanks and pillars in front of you, it's pretty easy to go from that. But honestly here, I also want to highlight Mask. He's played absolutely out of his mind on this Galio. He's flash taunted right after they kill Leona to solidify that mid lane win fight was huge.
And it reminds me now of what the head coach of Heretics told me during the interview before the game. What should you guys work on since the series you played last week? And he was mentioning team fights and be more methodical in team fight. And to me, it feels like this execution of team fight was lacking here, maybe.
I mean, this is not methodical at all. This is not methodical at all. I mean, the method cannot be to go straight forward versus Unicorns of Love with all the resources they had. I remember one team it that went okay after bluerzor stole that second Drake, I think it was, or the third Drake, where Ivo flanked Jinx. He couldn't grab Jinx. That's the fight that you want. You want to side with the Jayce. You want to grab Jinx and get her away from the team fight. Look at that damage. That is what you wanted to. But in the moment that you just can't, because Unicorns Love had mid pressure, they had vision, they had control over all the map, you can't do those.
And it was really funny because the damage meters heavily favored Heretics here. But I'm like, yeah, you were hitting mid shields pretty much that could absorb all the damage you were throwing at them. And again, I just want to highlight how I wish, since you locked in the Jayce and you took it in the top side, you played that side lane a little bit more. They panic and get eyeball to TP back into base on the base race. No, let him have the base race, because I feel like at this point, that's your only chance. Even if someone TPs back, Jayce kills them, you keep them at bay, you have that one chance of killing the Nexus, because front to back is just no longer working.
So now, looking ahead at the next game, teams will play on the same side as Heretics choose blue side once again. And where do you want to see an approach refined here, Noah? Because I feel like the draft itself may not have been the main issue here. So do you want to keep on riding the same basis and what they chose here, or would you change something in the priorities of the picks you want to?
I would rather prefer to have the Jinx for us.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would rather prefer to have the Jinx for us. But I can understand that they are afraid of what Funky showed up with the Shaya back in the quarterfinals. But honestly, they should be prepared for that Saya. They can leave the Saya open. They can let that happen and have a response for that. I would like to see Heretics with a plan that if the plan is to get the AD carry, just have the tools. I felt like they had no tools, and that was my main issue into this game.
I feel like Zeri, you know what, we should have
had
Zeri.
Bait pick.
We should have
That's
had
the bait
Zeri
pick,
in
the
the
ultimate.
content at the pre-show, because I feel like Zeri currently is such a bait pick. Kind of difficult to get priority in lane, and yes, he pops off in fights, but it's very situational. Are you going to play over a wall? Are you going to have the right front to back? Can you stall enough these team fights to play sort of the back and forth that you want with the Zeri, where she chases down 5 people for the pentakill? Whilst Flakked is a freaking amazing Aphelios player. Lock that down. Yes, you lose the early prior into the Jinx. Almost
you already lost that.
Loses right now, but Flakked's Aphelios has been one of his most phenomenal champions to play in team fights, and Heretics heavily rely on Flakked to do the damage. 36% damage share off your team is pretty much all they need for you to carry.
We'll see if they can change their approach and if they come up with a different strategy here in Game 2. But as of now, the Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition lead this series and open up the score. We'll be right back in a couple minutes for Game 2.